The brutal war was coming to an end. The troops were going back to their families, and there was some peace in the world, finally, after 20 years.
Strikes against Al-Qaeda terrorist training camps and military installations of the Taliban regime in Afghanistan.
Today is 30th of August, the day back in 2021 when the most brutal and longest war in Afghanistan ended. In today's video, I'll be telling you all about the tragic effects of the 20-year-long war, the role of the heartbreaking 9/11 attacks, and the wild US-Taliban deal. And yeah, don't forget to like the video. The Afghanistan War began in 2001, right after the September 11 attacks. But it began because of the ongoing two-decade war in Afghanistan. In 1979, Soviet tanks entered Afghanistan to restore stability. But, of course, that didn't work. Instead, it sparked a nationwide rebellion by a united force of Islamists. These rebels won a lot of areas in Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, and foreign volunteers from the United States. Fast forward to 1994, when these rebels escalated and formed the Taliban. The Taliban then seized Kabul, and that's when it all started going downhill. The same year, Al-Qaeda's leader, Osama bin Laden, was welcomed to Afghanistan. He established his headquarters in Afghanistan. With Al-Qaeda's help, the Taliban won control of over 90% of Afghan territory by 2001. And then came the hijacking and crashing of the US jetliners in 2001. People all around the world were shocked on September 11, 2001. The sky turned into a scene of terror and sadness. The Twin Towers in New York were hit by planes that were taken over by the Al-Qaeda. This led to the death of 2,996 people, with over 2,000 victims. After this awful event, the US was determined to seek revenge. They got ready to fight back. This choice sparked the Afghan War. It was a time when many people, especially soldiers, fought bravely to get rid of intruders from their homeland who terrorized it. The war in Afghanistan had many bad effects. People were hurt and killed, and families were lost. Many had to leave their homes because of the war, and this created a big problem with people needing help. Buildings, roads, and schools were broken, so it was hard for people to live normally. This made the country's money situation even worse, and many didn't even have jobs. Kids couldn't go to school because of the war, which is a right every student should have. Hospitals were burnt too, so people had trouble getting medical help. The war also made people feel scared and sad, which affected their mental health. And not just in Afghanistan, the war made other places less safe too. As new dangerous groups appeared, this had to stop. The United States Armed Force completed their withdrawal from Afghanistan on 30th August 2021, marking the end of the 2001 to 2021 war. In February 2020, the Trump administration and the Taliban, without the participation of the then Afghan government, signed the US-Taliban Deal. The agreement set fighting restrictions for both the US and the Taliban. It also provided for the withdrawal of all NATO forces from Afghanistan in return for the Taliban's counter-terrorism commitments. The US agreed to an initial reduction of its force level from 13,000 to 8,600 within 135 days, followed by a full withdrawal within 14 months if the Taliban kept its commitments. After the deal, attacks on the Afghan forces increased, with thousands being killed. However, the agreed withdrawals went on. By January 2021, only 2,500 US troops were left in the country. The NATO forces were evacuated by summer's end. The US fully left by August 30th, 2021, the Taliban forcefully took over Afghanistan. With this, let me now jump to something a little bit more aspirational. You're definitely going to feel proud listening to this. Go watch my next video on Martin Luther King Jr.'s iconic speech, because it's way different than what you think it was. But before you go watch the next video, subscribe to Behind the Date for more interesting stories from all over the world. Bye-bye. I'm off to listen to MLK Jr.